part 2. This Bible study moved to another gentleman's house, and I started Bible study there. And in that Bible study was a young man, and he invited all his young men friends. And then one of those young men was at a college, and he invited some girl at the college over there. And so we had lots of young college age 20 to 25-year-olds. God started to move. People found the voice of God. This group sat next to me. He heard God. This group right here.
Yeah, I was one of those guys.
Yeah. One of those young guys. Not young anymore.
Yeah.
And that young lady, I'll put her on the video one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
She heard God. God transferred her whole life. From wanting to kill her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she had a desire in her heart to kill her parents. Why? Because her mom had tried many times to kill her. Sounds like a great home, doesn't it? To a place where she decided at God to honor your father and your mother. And that whole relationship is transformed. So, we continue on. Jesus Christ comes into our fellowship and disciples us.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it say? Well, you go back to our back video. You can all prophesy one by one, it says in 1 Corinthians 14, verse, I think, 40. You can all prophesy. So the whole gathering purpose took me years to understand that the purpose of the New Testament church was for God to speak. Now, I said that in other videos. God to speak. For God to speak there, and for you and me to listen and obey what he says. So that's how the church developed. How is it going? Well, we have victories and we have defeats. Recently, the body has lost some people again. Not uncommon. I'm certainly used to people deciding to leave. We had people coming to the fellowship who were hiding. They're drinking or they're carousing in their wickedness. And they were trying to hide that. But when the truth came out, the hiding didn't work so much. The pornography. When you're dealing with men, you're dealing with pornography.
Yep.
Say what? When you're dealing with men, you're dealing with pornography. I don't care whether it's a pastor.
Yep.
That man is probably dealing with pornography. Say, how? Really? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And when pornography is dealt with by God, now here's a major decision. Am I going to serve God and be a husband that God wants me to my wife? Or am I going to lust?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to lust? Because the purpose of pornography is to bring lust.
Mm-hmm.
Wicked lust. God says, husbands, love your wives. Didn't say husband lust for every woman who takes her clothes off and shows you wickedness. So, we dealt with pornography. And out with one man, two men, two couples.
Just like that?
Just like that. And a house church ain't necessarily very big. If you've got 10 couples, you're really big. That'd be 20 people. We weren't that big. We were probably at 16 and we lost 2 couples, so just like that. And out they go.
Smoking.
Smoking? Yeah.
And that was a success and a failure, or a win and a lose.
One man couldn't give up his cigarettes.
Yeah.
Well, it was a god. And he couldn't give up this god of cigarettes. And one man had the same god. And he went through hell to give it up, but he gave it up. He still struggles with cigarettes today.
Still a struggle. Still a battle.
Years later. So God will work in men's life and says to them, you will be holy as I am holy. And that's going to happen in that church. Jesus Christ is going to come in that church and demand holiness. Demand, husband, love your wife. Demand, wife, submit yourself unto your husband as unto the Lord. Demand that out of that wife. Not demand that the wife run the show. Submit to your husband as unto God. God's going to demand these things. So, I don't know. If you think house churches, 30 years. And there were things about relationships, sexual relationships between husbands and wives, and how that needs to be, God needs to be put into that picture, was brought right into the fellowship. God spoke there.
There's hardly a topic
that God
hasn't covered.
That God is not covered, and He's still at it today.
I've been in this fellowship for about 12 years-ish.
Yeah.
And the amount of things that I've seen God do in people's lives and people coming and then going, just in that amount of time. And I watched it. It happened in my life. God demanded this thing. Al brought up pornography. God demanded that has to go. I was a worship leader at a church or religious establishment. And God said that has to go. Husbands, love your wives.
Under any and all circumstances. God didn't say husband love your wife if they're really nice.
Yep.
And so we've been through the gamut.
Yep.
And we go kind of cycle through that over and over again. And if you're going to be the church of Jesus Christ, you're going to be, the gates of hell are going to be constantly there to destroy it. But Jesus said, I'm going to build it, and the gates of hell shall not overcome what I'm going to do. So, narrow is the way, clutter-filled is the way that leadeth to life, and few, you don't understand.
Just
few. A couple of, when Ezekiel said, cut off all his hair, God said, okay, take a few of those little hairs and stick them out. Take them. That's the few. Out of his whole haircut, I don't know, a head of hair, according to my thinking, is 150 to 250,000 hairs. And he took 8, 10 hairs and stuck them aside. And that's what he's talking about when he's talking about a few that find it. Not a whole religious establishment. So our home church, our New Testament church, tends to have people in and people out, and then out of those people, there are a few who find it. And the rest go right back to their evil and wickedness of their, and they can go right back to the traditional establishment and be fine members in good standing. And you can have all the pornography you want.
Mm-hmm.
They won't bother you. They will not bother you. Nope. And that pornography usually leads to divorce. And you can have divorce. They won't care. Put money in the plate. We don't care.
Yep. They can be drinking and smoking as much as they want. And it's all okay as long as you show up and put money
in there. And they will not deal with you. They will not kick you out. You will be a person in fine standing, but not in my church, Jesus says. Jesus says, you are to be holy as I am holy. And when Jesus is discipling that body, he's going to deal with you being holy.
He demands holiness.
That is correct. Well, thank you for listening. We'll come back with another video one of these days. Bye.
Bye-bye.